Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the home weather office on this Monday morning. It's now, let's see, the 28th day of July, 2025. This is the morning briefing. Looking out the window from the home weather office, blue sky, not much in the way of a breeze. Another comfortable morning. It is going to be a slightly warmer day today, but still not bad for this time of year. And we are going to be seeing more relatively comfortable weather throughout this week. How long this may last is a bit of a question, and I'll get to some of that here in just a second. Let's see what's happening this morning. The marine layer is there. It's not quite as extensive as the last couple of days, but it's there. Otherwise, we have clear skies. There are some high, thin clouds zipping by here. The Butler fire is up here, but boy, it looks like there's a lot less smoke off the Butler fire than there has been. However, this fire will likely continue to burn in very remote areas, yeah, it's just kind of doing its thing up here, but not putting up a ton of smoke. So you can see that throughout California, the air quality is really, really good. We don't really have much in the way of active fire activity going on at all. The Dragon Fire on the north side of the Grand Canyon continues to burn and put up a lot of smoke all the way up into the Wasatch and the Uintas in Utah and into Wyoming. Yeah, that continues to be a pretty big fire burning in that area on the north side of the Grand Canyon, putting up smoke over areas like Page, Arizona, and up toward Horseshoe Bend, that area. But for us, well, everything looks really good. And we've had some really nice weather lately, of course. So let's review. This is the highs and lows for Sacramento for this month. Of course, we've been talking about the fact we've only had one day above 100 so far this month. But if you look here, from the 20th to the 27th, so 8 consecutive days with temperatures under 90. Now, I'm sure that's happened recently. I just don't remember when it has happened, but yeah, 8 consecutive days with temperatures under 90 in what is the hottest part of the year, climatologically speaking. Just a great month we're having. The average temperature is now down to 73.2. That is 2.6 below the long-term average. Only 12 days over 90. We'll likely sprinkle in some days over 90 this week, but still, I talked about this last week. This is going to be a very low month for days over 90. But let's talk more about this average temperature and see how that stacks up. So what I've done here is I've drawn up the average temperatures since 1980, and I've put them in order for the month of July. So just pay attention to this column here for the month of July. So since 1980, the coolest was 1987 when the average came in at 71.8. Now keep in mind, when we're talking about the average, that's the average high and the low put together and then averaged out over the course of the month. So 71.8, yeah, we're not talking about the average high. You factor in the overnight low as well. So 71.8 back in 1987. Next comes 1999. 1982, 2000, 1983, and then here we are right here at 73.2. So we're within a tenth of 1983. Right now we're number 6 on the list since 1980 and close to 2001 and 2010. Let's talk about the other end of the spectrum here for a second. Let me move this up just a little bit. Here we go. The other end of the spectrum last year was the hottest. 2024 came in with an average temperature of 81.0, and a lot of people talk about, okay, so yes, that was the hottest, but you know how things are trending hotter. Well, look at what was the hottest before that. It was 1988, at 80.4. So we had hot years like last year, even back in the 80s, and anyway. But right now, this year, we're talking about being on the cooler end of the spectrum, which is nice. As I've been talking about, boy, it's, when you get your electric bill for the month of July, I don't know how the rates compare to last July. I know the rates keep going up, but I'm sure that you've used a lot less electricity. That might not necessarily translate into a lower bill. Maybe it will. But as long as we have this troughing pattern here, keeps the ridge away, and that's what we have this week. Little wiggle goes by on Wednesday right here that may trigger more in the way of Sierra showers that I'll show you in a second here. But it doesn't look like we'd see anything down in the valley. Models aren't showing that. And what I'm showing you here is the run from yesterday. This is the 18Z run from yesterday. And I don't want to get into that just so much because of this week, but because of what this model shows for next week. Ridge expanding. And as we get toward the end of next week out into fantasy land, this is big time heat. So what day are we up to now? This is Tuesday the 5th. And beyond that, the ridge expands, and this is just a hot pattern. Okay, so that's the way it looked yesterday. Let's go to the morning run, the 6Z run. Looks similar in the short term. There's that little wiggle on Wednesday that'll bring more Sierra showers. Now the high begins to move in. The trough looks a little bit weaker, and now we're up to the weekend. So starting the month of August. And there's the high. That would be hot. But you notice how this model, now we're up to next Tuesday, this model has another trough coming by and pushes the high, the four corners high, far enough to the east to keep the heat away. And this looks a little bit different, although this still looks pretty hot. But this model keeps more in the way of troughiness around than this model does with the big high. And what we're talking about is next week and in things that are 10 days or more out there. So if you start seeing headlines about, heat next week, right now, it depends on which model run you're looking at. So there's certainly no consensus on that just yet. But we'll have to keep an eye on that, whether or not we're going to see any sustained temperatures over 100 next week. But in the meantime, the next few days look as though they're going to be pretty nice. Let's talk a little bit more about the chance of showers and thunderstorms for the Sierra. We'll likely see some buildups today. We saw them over the weekend. Here they are. This is late this afternoon. Some showers well to the north, up in Modoc County, and on the eastern side of the Sierra. And then on Tuesday afternoon, same thing, without the showers up by Shasta. And then this is that wiggle on Wednesday. Now this is going to be interesting. This model shows activity not just on the crest of the Sierra, but even down on the west slope, first thing on Wednesday morning. That's the way the HRRR shows it. So let's go to the NAM nest. The NAM nest is a little bit farther east with that, but again, this is Wednesday morning. So this is an afternoon convection. This is very early morning activity that goes along with that little wiggle that's coming by, that little low that's kind of pivoting through the ridge. So we'll see what happens with that on Wednesday morning. And of course, have to be mindful of any chance of lightning strikes. But even with the lightning we had last week, we may have seen one or two starts, but nothing that has sustained itself. And so once again, the cooler weather we've been having, and with cooler weather, we have higher humidity. It appears as though we are doing better fire-wise than we could be at this time of year. It's still early in the fire season. Keep in mind that we still have to get through August and September and part of October until the rain season kicks in. So the fire season has a long way to go, but so far so good. Yes, there have been fires, but we aren't seeing something that is going on now and just sustained week after week after week and giving us poor air quality. We're not seeing that. So comfortable temperatures, good air quality. Things are looking good. So make it a great day. I'll talk with you later.